That's how it started. Not with a kiss or a confession, but with the simple way she held the fabric like it carried more warmth than it really did. I had seen her before, in the hallway outside my building, usually passing through with that calm stride of hers. Confident, a little guarded, always giving people just enough of her attention without letting them too close. She looked like the kind of woman who'd learned how to hold her own silence, maybe even hide behind it. That night she lingered instead of walking by. We'd both stepped outside at the same time, me with my leftover food bag, her with a book tucked under her arm like she planned to read outside until the streetlights flickered out. The breeze caught her off guard. She rubbed her arms, trying to pretend she wasn't shivering. "You okay?" I asked. She smiled, polite. "Fine. Just didn't expect the temperature drop." I hesitated before offering my jacket. Not because I didn't want to, but because she seemed like the kind of woman who'd reject help just to avoid owing anything. But she surprised me. Her fingers brushed mine when she took it, light and quick, like she worried too much contact might say something she wasn't ready to say. "It'll smell like you," she said softly. I wasn't sure if that was a complaint or something else. We sat on the building steps. I didn't plan to stay, but she opened her book without reading it, and I stayed anyway. The quiet between us wasn't empty. Pressed in around us, steady and warm. She held the jacket closer than she needed to, like she was thinking about something far away. "You live up on the 3rd floor, right?" she asked after a while. "Yeah," I said. "You're on the 5th. She nodded, not looking at me, thumb running along the book's spine. "You notice things. That obvious?" She let out a small laugh, the kind that slips out when someone isn't trying to impress you. "Maybe not obvious. Just a very 20. I blinked. "Is that a compliment?" She tilted her head, studying me. "It's a thing I don't get from people my age anymore. They don't look closely. They assume they already know." Her gaze stayed on me a few seconds longer than comfortable. I felt my pulse in my throat. She didn't look away until a car passed, washing us in headlights for a moment. When the noise faded, she whispered, "You're warm, even without the jacket." I wasn't sure what to say to that, so I said nothing. The silence didn't bother her. She shifted slightly closer, pretending she needed to adjust the book, but her knee bumped mine and stayed there, just barely touching. A soft, accidental line of heat between us. My breath shortened before I could hide it. She noticed. Her eyes dropped to where our legs met. Then slowly, gradually, she drew her knee away. Not fast, just enough to show she'd caught herself wanting something. Or almost wanting it. "I should return this before it gets too late," she murmured, fingers pinching the lapel of my jacket. She folded it neatly over her arm, smoothing the fabric once, twice, as if thinking through something private. Before I could stand, a voice from inside the building shouted someone's name, loud enough to crack the moment. She flinched, the smallest twitch of her shoulders. Our eyes met again, charged, uncertain, pulled tight with something we didn't name. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say one last thing. Instead, the hallway light clicked on behind her. The door swung open, and she froze. The person who opened the door called her name again. She stepped aside, letting them pass, but something in her face tightened. Not fear. More like she'd been caught somewhere she wasn't supposed to be, even though we were just sitting on the steps. When the hallway was empty again, she exhaled, slow and careful. "I wasn't expecting company tonight," she said, almost apologizing. "I wasn't either," I answered. We walked inside together. Not close enough to touch, but close enough that our shoulders almost brushed every few steps. She kept her eyes forward, like she was thinking hard about something she didn't want to say out loud. On the 2nd floor landing, she paused. "Can I give this back upstairs?" I kept it longer than I meant to. We climbed the last floors in an awkward rhythm. She stopped at her door, hesitating before turning the handle. The hallway light flickered, humming above us. She held the jacket out. I reached for it, but she didn't let go right away. Her fingers rested on mine, cool at first, then warming. "You're kind," she said quietly. "Too kind for someone like me." I don't think that's true. Her eyes softened in a way that made me think she disagreed, deeply. Inside her apartment, someone had left a mug on the counter and a half-open window let in the cold. She set the jacket down, smoothing it again. She did that when she wasn't sure what to say. I filed the detail away without meaning to. Were you married? I asked, then winced at how blunt it sounded. She didn't answer right away. She opened the window wider, letting the chill roll in. Once, a long time ago. And no, you don't need the details. She leaned on the counter, fingers tapping once against the surface. He was older. Much older. She smiled without warmth. Funny how that worked out. It explained the way she held herself. The distance. The practiced calm. Maybe even the regret tucked behind her eyes. I didn't mean to pry, I said. You didn't, she replied. It's just strange talking about it with someone your age. Makes me feel like I'm handing over the wrong kind of story. She stepped closer, maybe without realizing. I caught the scent of her shampoo, something light, clean. Her breath brushed the side of my cheek when she turned her head. My pulse jumped, obvious enough that she noticed. She looked up at me. Her eyes flicked to my mouth for a single second, so quick I questioned if I imagined it. Then she stepped back. I shouldn't make this complicated, she murmured. You're not. Her laugh came out thin. You think that now. I didn't know what she meant. Not fully. But I knew she had been lonely for a long time. Not the dramatic kind. The quiet kind that builds over years until you stop noticing. She reached past me to close the window. Her hand brushed my shoulder, lingering just a moment too long. Not by accident. When she turned toward me again, the space between us felt charged in a way it hadn't before. She swallowed once, looking like she might step closer again. But she didn't. Instead, she whispered, "You should go before I say something I can't take back." I didn't move. Not right away. That hesitation, that breath of stillness between us, hung in the air like a promise neither of us knew how to name. The next time I saw her, it wasn't planned. It never was with her. I was checking my mail in the lobby when the elevator dinged and she stepped out, hair pinned loosely, wearing a soft sweater that made her look less guarded than usual. She froze when she saw me, not startled, more like bracing. "You're early," she said. "For what?" I asked. She shook her head and walked past me, pretending she didn't hear the slip. "Nothing. Ignore me." I followed her to the door leading to the stairwell. She pushed it open, then hesitated long enough that I caught it before it closed. "You can walk with me," she said without looking back. We climbed the stairs in close, uneven steps. Halfway up, she slowed. "Listen, about the other night. I don't want you thinking I'm—" Her phone buzzed in her pocket. The vibration broke the sentence in half. She sighed sharply, pulling the phone out. The name on the screen flashed bright before she tilted it away from me. "Who is it?" I asked before I could stop myself. "No one I want to talk to." She declined the call and shoved the phone back into her pocket, jaw tight. The echo of it rang between us longer than the buzz itself. She kept walking. I stayed a step behind, watching the way she ran her hand through her hair, restless. At the landing between the 4th and 5th floor, she stopped again. "You shouldn't look at me like that," she said softly. "Like what?" She turned toward me. Close. Too close. Her breath brushed the hollow of my throat. "Like I'm someone you should want." The stairwell was quiet, humming faintly from the fluorescent light above us. Her fingers twitched at her side as if fighting the urge to reach out. I stepped closer before thinking. "You keep pulling back," I said. "But you stay close." "Because I'm too old to be stupid," she whispered. "And I'm too young to pretend I don't see you," I whispered back. Her eyes flicked to mine, then to my mouth. The shift was tiny, barely there, but it felt like the floor tilted. She didn't step away. Not this time. She lifted her hand, hesitated, then pressed her palm lightly to my chest. Not pushing, just feeling the heartbeat she'd heard pick up. "I shouldn't," she said again, voice unsteady. "People talk. People assume. And I promised myself I'd never cross lines like this again." Again. The word hung between us, heavy with things she wasn't ready to share. Before I could ask, the stairwell door slammed open below. Footsteps. Voices. Someone laughing as they climbed up toward us. She jerked her hand away like she'd been caught doing something forbidden. We both backed up a step, chests rising too fast. Two neighbors pushed past us without noticing anything strange, though one glanced twice at her, then at me. She stiffened until they were gone. When the sound faded, she let out a shaky exhale. "We shouldn't be doing this," she murmured. "Then tell me to stop." She met my eyes. The fight in her face, the confusion, the want she kept trying to hide, it all surfaced at once. Her fingers brushed mine again, deliberate this time. A slow, trembling slide of skin against skin. She didn't say stop. She didn't say anything. She just stayed there in the stairwell, closer than she'd ever let herself be, standing in the space where a kiss almost happened and almost happened again. She avoided me for 2 days, not in a dramatic way, more like she'd timed her steps to miss mine, left a few minutes earlier than usual, took the long route to the lobby. She nodded if she passed me, polite and distant, as if the stairwell moment had been nothing more than an echo. By the third night, I'd convinced myself she wanted distance, until I stepped out to grab a package and found her standing outside my door. She wasn't dressed up. Jeans, a loose cardigan, hair down around her shoulders like she'd run her hands through it one too many times. She looked unsettled. And when she looked up, her eyes were sharp with something she couldn't hide anymore. "I can't sleep," she said, voice low. "Is something wrong?" She shook her head. "Just thinking too much." She stepped past me, into the hallway's dim light. "I thought if I came down here and talked to you, maybe it would get out of my system. Has it?" "No," she whispered. The silence stretched. She tried to cross her arms, changed her mind halfway, let them fall. Her fingers brushed her own elbows, restless. "You're making this difficult," she said. "I haven't done anything. You exist." She let out a shaky breath. "You look at me the way no one has in years. And I'm trying, really trying, not to want that." My chest tightened. I stepped closer to her without meaning to. She didn't back up. "When I walked past you earlier," she said, "I smelled my perfume on your jacket, and I wanted to—" She stopped herself, pressing her lips together. "What did you want?" Her laugh came out thin, a little cracked. "Don't make me say it." The hallway was quiet, too quiet, the kind where every heartbeat felt magnified. Her hair fell across one side of her face, hiding her expression. I lifted a hand, slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. My fingers brushed her hair back. Soft, warm. A tremor ran through her shoulders the moment I touched her. "I'm not trying to push you," I whispered. "I know. That's the problem." She stepped closer, almost leaning into me. Her forehead hovered inches from my shoulder, close enough that I felt her breath warming the fabric of my shirt. "You're going to ruin me," she said, barely audible. Her hand came up, hesitant, then settled lightly on my waist. Not pulling, just holding on to something steady. "I see the way people look at us," she said, "or would look at us, and I can already hear the questions, the judgments. I'm supposed to know better. You're not doing anything wrong." I'm standing in a hallway with a boy half my age, wanting to— She cut herself off again. I tilted my head, bringing my voice closer to her ear. "Wanting to what?" She drew in a breath like she was about to step over a line she'd drawn for herself. Her nose brushed my jaw. Soft, accidental, not accidental. She looked up at me, her lips parted. "If I kiss you," she whispered, "I don't think I'll be able to pretend after that." My hand slid to the small of her back, slow enough for her to stop me. She didn't move. She leaned in. I felt the start of her breath on my mouth. Then, a door down the hall clicked open. She froze. Her fingers tightened against my waist. Her eyes locked on mine, wide, caught between fear and want. We didn't pull apart. Not yet. We just hovered there, breath against breath, one heartbeat from crossing the point she said she'd never cross again. The door down the hall shut again, but the moment it broke had already shifted her. She stepped back from me, not far, just enough that the air cooled between us. Her hand dropped from my waist. Mine hovered a second longer at her back before I let it fall. She didn't speak. She turned her head slightly, listening for footsteps that never came. When she looked at me again, something in her expression had changed. A fracture. A decision forming and unforming in real time. "I need to tell you something," she said. The words hit harder than the distance she'd just put between us. "What is it?" She brushed past me toward my door, the movement too quick, too tense. Her shoulder grazed my arm and stayed in my skin long after she pulled away. She stopped when she reached my doorframe, one hand braced on the wood, her breath uneven. "I didn't avoid you this week because I was scared," she said. "Or not only because of that." I stepped closer. "Then why?" She swallowed, throat tightening. "Someone saw us in the stairwell. That night." My stomach dropped. "Who?" "My sister." She said it softly, but it echoed. I had never seen her look so exposed. Her fingers trembled against the doorframe, the motion small but impossible to miss. "She came by to drop something off," she said. "She didn't say anything then, but she called later, asked why you were standing so close, asked why I looked flustered." "And what did you tell her?" "That it was nothing." The hesitation after the word nothing told the truth she hadn't. I took a step toward her. She didn't turn around, but her back straightened when she heard my footsteps, like the sound alone unsettled her. "She doesn't live here," I said. "So what does it change?" She let out a low, bitter breath. "It changes everything. My family knows my patterns. They know how I get when I'm lonely. They know the mistakes I've made. And they'll think this is another one." Her voice cracked at the end. Not fully, but enough to feel like a confession. I reached out and touched the sleeve of her cardigan, fingers sliding along the soft fabric. She didn't move away. She didn't move at all. "So you think being near me is a mistake? Don't twist it," she whispered. "You know that's not what I said." "Then tell me what you meant." She turned, slowly, until we were facing each other again. Her eyes had that unsettled shine, the one she tried to hide whenever something mattered too much. "I told her it was nothing because that's what it's supposed to be," she said. "What it should be. You're younger."
I'm tired.
"I've already burned through too many chances with people who didn't stay." "I'm not them." "I know," she whispered. "That's why this scares me." A silence hung between us. Heavy, tight, electric. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. She opened a message thread, hesitated, then tilted the screen toward me. It was a text from her sister. Just one line. "Don't get attached again." Not to him. My chest tightened. Her breath hitched when she saw my reaction, like she'd been bracing for me to laugh or shrug it off. Instead, I stepped in close enough that my shirt brushed her arm. Her fingers twitched, almost reaching for me before curling back. "Do you want me to stay away?" I asked. Her lips parted. No sound came out at first. She looked torn in a way that felt rawer than anything she'd said. Finally, she shook her head. Small, barely there, but real. "No," she said. "I don't want distance." She lifted her hand, touched my chest again, slow and trembling. "I want something I shouldn't." The hallway light hummed above us. I covered her hand with mine. "Then stop pretending you don't." Her breath caught. Her eyes dropped to my mouth again. A decision formed in that shattered, fragile space between us. She leaned in, closer than any line she'd allowed before, her voice barely a breath against my collar. "Then come inside," she whispered. She didn't move when she said it. She didn't step aside, didn't turn the handle, didn't guide me in. She just stood there with her fingers still caught in the fabric of my shirt, waiting for me to close the space for her. I reached past her and opened the door. The faint scent of her apartment drifted out, warm, quiet, a little lonely. She stepped in first, brushing my arm as she passed. Not an accident. Not this time. When I closed the door behind us, the sound seemed to seal the world in with us. She stopped in the middle of the room, not facing me, shoulders tense, head bowed slightly like she was sorting through every reason she had ever told herself not to be here. I watched her hands. They opened and closed at her sides, restless. "I didn't plan this," she said. "I know. And if I let this happen, I won't be able to pretend it didn't." I walked toward her, slow enough that she had time to step away. She didn't. The air thickened as I got closer. When I reached her, I lifted my hand to her shoulder, brushing hair away from her neck. Her breath hitched, a tiny, involuntary sound she tried to swallow. "You're shaking," I whispered. She nodded once. "Because I want something I promised I was done wanting." She turned to face me. We were inches apart, heat mixing between us. Her eyes searched mine, desperate for some kind of permission or escape or maybe both. I cupped her cheek, lightly, gently. Her skin warmed under my palm. She leaned into it without meaning to, the movement small but irrevocable. "This isn't reckless," I said. "Not unless you run from it." Her lips parted like she was about to argue. Instead, she stepped closer, her forehead touching mine. Soft, barely there. Our breaths tangled. Her hands found my waist again, this time with no hesitation. Her fingers curled into my shirt like she needed something to anchor her. "If I choose this," she whispered, "I'm choosing you. Not an escape. Not a distraction. You." My throat tightened. I didn't look away. "Then choose." Her eyes flicked down to my mouth, lingered, then rose again, full of fear and longing tangled into one fragile thing. "You're going to break my rules," she said. "Then make new ones with me." The room felt too small for the space between our lips. She closed her eyes, breath trembling as she leaned in. Her nose brushed mine. Her hands slid up to my chest, over my heartbeat, slow and deliberate. We hovered there, one breath, one heartbeat from crossing the line that had pulled us toward it for days. Then she exhaled, shaky and sure at the same time. "I'm done stepping back," she said. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was the clearest thing she had said since the night she borrowed my jacket. She opened her eyes and looked at me like she finally, fully saw the choice in front of her, and accepted it. She didn't rush forward after saying it. She just stayed there with her forehead resting against mine, breathing slow, steady, like she needed one last moment to settle into the choice she'd made. My hands found her waist. Hers drifted up my arms, fingers tracing small, nervous lines that gave her away more than her voice ever did. "You're still shaking," I said. "I know." A soft laugh escaped her. "But it's different now." We stood like that until the tension in her shoulders finally loosened. When she pulled back, it was only enough to look at me. Really look. No hiding behind jokes or apologies or the age gap she kept using as a shield. "I spent so long telling myself I couldn't want this," she said. "That wanting you made me foolish, irresponsible, something people would judge." "They might," I said. "People always do." She nodded, but her hand slid up to my jaw, thumb brushing once along the edge of my cheekbone. "But they don't get a vote anymore." The words weren't loud. They didn't need to be. I moved closer until her chest pressed lightly against mine, until our warmth blended. She leaned into me like she'd been waiting for a place to land. My arms wrapped around her, slow and certain. She exhaled against my collar, her breath warm, her body soft against me in a way that felt more intimate than anything else we'd shared. "I thought I was too old for this," she murmured. "For what?" "For feeling wanted." She paused. "For wanting back." I tightened my hold, not to pull her in, just to let her know she wasn't drifting anywhere. We didn't talk for a while. We stood in her living room, wrapped up in each other, her head against my shoulder, my hand brushing small circles along her spine. The quiet wasn't heavy anymore. It wasn't filled with second guesses or fear. Felt safe. Eventually she pulled back enough to see my face, though her hands stayed around my waist. "You know this won't be simple," she said. "Nothing worth it ever is." She smiled, soft and a little sad, but real. She reached up and pressed a slow kiss to my forehead. Her lips lingered. My hands slid up her back. She stayed there, breathing me in like she was memorizing something she'd only just allowed herself to have. When she lowered her forehead to mine again, she whispered, "I don't regret choosing you." I brushed my thumb along the side of her neck, feeling the faint tremble under her skin. "Good, because I'm not going anywhere." Her fingers laced through mine. The simple act hit harder than anything else. She squeezed gently, like she wanted to make sure her choice was anchored. "Stay with me tonight," she said. "Just stay close." I nodded, leaning my forehead against hers. "I'm here." We ended up sitting together on her couch, her curled against my side, my arm around her, our hands still intertwined. No rusing. No fear left to hide behind. Just two people finally choosing the same thing at the same time. For the first time since that cold night with the jacket, everything felt clear. We were together, and neither of us stepped back. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?